Hi everybody, it's Clarke Camper with the August edition of Wall Street and Washington. Today I'd like to cover three things. First, I'd like to talk about the congressional schedule between now and the election. Second, I'd like to talk about recent developments on the fiscal cliff. And third, I'd like to talk about a slew of media reports about a U.S. plot to undermine the UK as a financial center. First, in terms of the congressional schedule, it's quite simple. Congress is essentially done with its work between now and the election. They are in the midst of a 5-week recess as I tape this. They will come back right after Labor Day for about 10 days, give or take. The only meaningful legislation that they will pass is legislation to continue to fund the federal government through March of next year. Beyond that, Congress is very unlikely to do anything meaningful. Now, I don't want to miss the nugget in what I said about that bill extending federal spending, because what that means is that Congress has indeed averted the potential for a shutdown at the end of the federal fiscal year at the end of October, or beginning of October, I should say. And that is a very important milestone. But that takes us then on to the next topic, developments around the fiscal cliff. What will Congress do when they come back for a lame duck session after the election? And there certainly will be a session. Well, the big question is whether or not they actually address the fiscal cliff then or later. Recent developments have made it less likely, I believe, that Congress will address the fiscal cliff. Put another way, recent developments make it more likely that we will actually go over the fiscal cliff on January 1, 2013. There's no doubt that that represents conventional wisdom in Washington. I personally, as loyal viewers know, tend to be relatively optimistic. I'm not willing to go there in terms of my prognostication yet, but the real key factor, I think, in this analysis is who is elected president. If Mitt Romney is elected president, it makes it more likely that Congress will address the fiscal cliff. Why? Because Republicans will be more likely to want to get a sticky issue off the plate for when President Romney takes office, and Democrats will be likely to have lost seats during the election, which means they're probably more likely to cut a deal while their numbers are still increased and with President Obama in the White House. But again, very active space, continue to watch that. Finally, I want to say a few words around the media reports of a so-called U.S. plot to undermine the UK as a financial center. I get asked this question a lot in recent weeks. What I can say is that as a political matter, this supposed plot that, again, the media reports absolutely is not gaining traction. It is not, the whole concept has not reached any resonance, as far as I'm concerned, with the political class in Washington. I think it's unlikely to achieve any resonance, certainly between now and the election, because the election will overwhelm virtually everything else. Again, a key factor will be whether Romney is elected president. If we have a President Romney, there's no doubt that there's going to be a broad relook at Dodd-Frank and all U.S. financial regulation. At that point, there's no telling what other factors, whether it's the UK or any other factors, get brought into the discussion. So with that, I'll wrap things up. We'll see you next month on Wall Street and Washington.